The thoughts, views, and opinions expressed on the Canna Connect Show belong solely to the individuals and do not reflect those of Canna Connect and its affiliates, sponsors, or partners. Canna Connect does not promote or facilitate any activity that violates state or federal regulations. Everything you hear here is strictly for educational and entertainment purposes. It is not legal advice, it is not financial guidance, and it's definitely not medical direction. Seriously, don't take our word for it. Even if someone on the mic sounds like they know what they're talking about, and they're probably crazy smart too. Regardless of how legit our guests may be, you should always do your own homework, consult with your attorney, and understand the risk you're taking before you do anything when it comes to cannabis. Our intention is to keep it real. If you've got a problem with anything we've said, take us to court.
Welcome back to the Canna Connect Show. I'm your host, Stephen Acumen. We are live from Luckily. We are sitting down today with United Prairie Bank CEO, Scott Miller. We ran into each other right before you were about to leave last night, and I'm so glad that I found you when I did. So thanks for sticking with us, and excited to dig into the interview.
Yeah, me too. I'm looking forward to this.
Awesome. Has banking changed, and how much has the need for marketing and media changed in your years as an executive?
You know, now, are you talking specifically about cannabis or just in general?
No, just like marketing, and digital marketing, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I think it's changed significantly. I mean, we've gone from relying on people to walk in the branch or, to have people-to-people contact. And we continue to take getting deposits, for example. We have companies now that will use everything from social media, which is easy, to other kind of geo type, to get the word out. We do a lot of social media, but the problem is people already followed us, so they already know us, right? It's how do you get to that group that doesn't know us? And frankly, it's these kinds of things I think that make a difference.
That's right. So for folks that don't know you and United Prairie, tell us a little bit about you in the last 2 years and how United Prairie is approaching the cannabis industry.
Yeah, so just a short snippet on me. I spent 20 years in banking, and then I spent a little over 20 years in consulting, and was looking for something else to do. I retired, but I didn't really want to retire.
Okay.
Then COVID hit, so it was March of 20, and some road trips with my wife, and we just, pivoted a little bit.
Were you retired at March 2020?
I was.
Nice.
Well, the end of March is when I retired from the firm. I was looking at some other things to help some other companies out, kind of have some fun. And anyway,
Yeah.
you know what that was like. And then I was on the board at United Prairie. There was a CEO change.
Okay.
And things worked out, and I became president and CEO.
What's it like serving on a board?
So the board itself, community bank boards really vary. And we have an excellent board chair, and she's put together a very professional board for a bank our size. I mean, we have an IT expert, we have credit experts, we have 3 CPAs. I mean, she really has built out a good board. So I came on as sort of the credit expert. I'd run the consulting group, national consulting group for 20 years. And so that was fun. And it kind of led into, I'd always wanted to be a bank president, but honestly, at that stage of my life, it was going to have to be the perfect storm.
Yeah.
And it turned out to be the perfect storm.
Sure.
So,
Yeah.
so
What is
good.
it? What is your day-to-day role as a bank president?
I take the vision piece of it. Where do we need to be in 5 years? What kind of things do we need to be thinking about today? It's easy to get caught in the weeds and, worry about how you're going to get to 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
But we have such a great staff, and we have great leaders on our exec team and even throughout the organization. So it really allows me to spend more time. We decided to do this. I came on board 2 years ago.
Yep.
And the bank wasn't heading this direction. And I came out of Michigan. So we kind of pivoted and we made our pitch to the board and the ownership. And they said, let's try it.
Sure.
And
Sure.
we built some guardrails in. It's a big risk management play. We take that part very seriously. We work with the regulators to make sure they're on board and they understand what we're doing, so there's no surprises. And we build our compliance area, which is the biggest challenge. And we built that before we made a loan or opened an account. So we weren't going to learn as we go. We felt we needed to get out in front of them.
And what's the history of United Prairie Bank? What is United Prairie Bank known for?
So Great question, and it kind of leads into why we're here. So, 1972, a guy by the name of Jim Sneer, our founder, bought a bank in Mountain Lake, Minnesota, a little town south of here. And he was a serial acquirer. So we acquired many small community banks. He sold a few. He's kind of a trader, horse trader a bit. And anyway, we grew in through the years to this $950 million community bank. It's still family owned.
Oh, it is.
Yep. And the third generation is in our bank.
Okay.
Which is really exciting.
Wow.
Very, very good. Just very good representation. The shareholder support's amazing. Obviously, you can't do this if the shareholders say, no, it's not what we do. But we are one of the largest community agricultural lenders in the country.
Wow.
So that's the connection.
Country.
So we said, this is ag. If you can do greenhouse stuff, I mean, we're not growing roses, but we can do this. Yeah, we can lend this.
Yeah.
So it kind of fit what we were doing.
Okay.
But we spent a lot of time in making sure that we understood the industry, not just, lend 75% on a piece of real estate.
Yeah.
But what makes a cannabis company successful, whether it's a dispensary or whether it's a grow operation or ancillary, consulting and everything else that's kind of feeding into this.
And do you have exposure to all facets?
We have,
Is that the right terminology?
yeah, I think so. We've spent a lot of time, I saw what happened in Michigan, right? They made, the dispensaries and the grow operations making a ton of money.
Yep.
Prices went through the floor and it was a struggle.
Yeah.
And so we're trying to educate our customers, the ones borrowing, you're going to make a lot of money. Let's just say the first 3 to 5 years should be really good. Maybe it'll stay good, but let's plan on what could happen if prices do fall. So we set some minimum standards on costs and sales per pound to try to educate people coming in so that we're all in lockstep about where this industry could go and prepare for the worst. The whole adage,
right.
Hope for the best, but
Prepare for the worst. Yeah.
And that's I think a big part of what we're trying to do. We owe it to the industry, the cannabis, and to our customers.
Yes.
To do things right and be a leader that way. And we did an all-day seminar.
Yeah.
To get some knowledge out there.
That last fall?
Yeah.
I heard about that.
Yeah. To get some knowledge out there. And, I think we're well positioned. We're still learning every day, but I think we're very well positioned to help our customers.
Have there been any real surprises that have come across with this stigmatized industry that we're in?
Maybe not surprises, but I think there's been a sort of a validation. So we knew we were going to get corporate money. We knew we were going to get some people that had some liquidity and wealth to do this.
Yeah.
But we also knew that we were going to get a large number of people that had this concept that they were either going to open a dispensary or grow.
Yeah.
But with no idea of the kind of costs and time it takes to do that. So we call it dream crushing, and it's not fun when we have to say, you know what, you need to go back to ground zero. You need to do a business plan. Here's 5 consultants that can help.
Okay.
If you have questions, call us. We want to help you. But there's a lot of things you haven't thought about.
Okay.
And versus, well, we'll take grandma's house for collateral and we'll get you the money somehow. We don't want to do that.
Nope.
That's not good for anybody, including us. And so that has been a struggle. I think the other thing is just the sheer volume. With so few companies, banks in the cannabis space, it's put a lot of pressure on our existing systems as we try to swallow this elephant.
Yeah,
it's been big.
United Prairie seems to have a network of resources beyond just banking when it comes to the ancillary providers that are equipped to help the entrepreneur and the operator. Who are some of your strongest partners or referrals that you like to connect the dots with? That when it comes to, it makes sense because you're in my office. It makes sense that I recommend you to this type of person.
Yeah, I'm hesitant to mention name because I'll forget somebody. But if you call us or get on our website, we put some of the information out there.
Right.
And actually, that's what's beautiful about being here is I just met a company that can do gap financing, so we can do the traditional stuff.
Okay.
But they can do some of the things that stretch.
Okay.
That's huge here. And assuming that, we're going to have a conversation next week, but I could see that being an example of a tremendous way to take some of these um, uh, grow or dispensary folks, and give them that extra bit of financial help to get them over the.
Needed right now.
It is.
in this industry.
It is.
Right. So then if someone is still kind of looking for the right banking partner and they're considering United Prairie, what would be 3 things, requirements or nice to haves that are turned into need to haves when the rubber hits the road? What is an ideal client showing up with? An ideal prospect showing up with to become a client?
So, there's 3. It's funny you picked 3 things because we start with 3 things.
Okay.
One is commercial grow experience. Have you grown commercially before? And if you haven't, have you found a partner, a consultant, somebody that has worked and can help lead you through that? We also need to have working capital. Things don't always go right in a new business. This is a portfolio of startup companies, which should scare the hell out of any banker, right? So you got to have people that have liquidity, you got working capital, and then business acumen. Just if you've never run a business, you think about just paying taxes and insurance and all the little stuff that the average person has never had to deal with. So again, you don't have to have it on your team as an employee,
right?
But you need to link up with a trusted advisor that can fill that role. So that's our starting point. If you have those 3 things and you have a plan, even if you don't have it completely worked out, and from there, we want to know how you're growing. We want to know what media you're in, and not that we're going to say it's good or bad. But we want to really understand what your plan is. And then, of course, solid projections. And a lot of the projections are maybe a little optimistic, shall I say?
Yeah.
And so we take some loose standards and we'll run them through kind of our, I say model, but it is not complicated.
Yep.
And if they can still cash flow doing that, then, we feel like we have a viable operation.
And the KYC element of banking in the cannabis industry, how thorough do you have to vet your clients when it's, because let's be honest, there's a lot of folks that have been doing this before it was legal, not necessarily in Minnesota, potentially. However, it's just, it's part of the facts. This plant has been demonized, stigmatized, made illegal compared to heroin. It is, in the eyes of the federal government, is far worse than the realities of what might be in my backpack, right? So how do you KYC? How do you know your customer? What all goes into that?
Yeah. So we partnered. I will give a shout out to GreenCheck. We partnered with GreenCheck early, and we would not have done this without GreenCheck or a similar company. And there are others out there, and the others we looked at are good. So I don't want to. Yeah. But GreenCheck has been a great partner.
I've heard great things about GreenCheck.
Yeah, and so we have set up a process that they run through their program, and they accumulate the data, and people go into the portal and fill it out, and that provides the basis really for us to be able to move forward. If you can't get through GreenCheck, then there's nothing we can do. And that helps us file SARs, suspicious activity reports. I won't go into all the.
Please do.
Yeah, I won't go into too much.
We got 5 minutes.
Okay, I won't go into all the details, but that came out of 9/11 and all of the terrorists being funded by
Al Qaeda.
By essentially money laundering.
Okay,
and this came out of that, and this is a considered a very risky business, high risk,
right?
So we need to continually report SARs so the government can track anything that they think might, because they may see things from other banks and through FinCEN, pretty sophisticated,
right?
But they'll tie that through. I don't think we're going to see that at this level, but the regs are there. We have to go by the rules.
Yeah.
And it's expensive. We've had to pay for the software. There's monthly charges, and we've had to hire people.
Really?
And I think the biggest threat to banks.
I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Go ahead.
But compliance. Let's look at Metric, for example. Some of your clients need to have their own compliance person on staff to handle Metric. It's very similar on your end. We, as a United Prairie, have to have compliance people, and that's an added cost on our end. But it's because of the high-risk industry that there needs to be compliance on both sides to check for checks and balance.
Yes. And it's expensive. I mean, there, obviously we could make bad credit decisions and that would affect us. But I think the biggest threat to lending in this industry is you don't get the compliance right. The regulators come in and say, stop.
Yep.
And then you have a hell of a mess.
Wow.
And everybody in our organization knows
Yeah.
that there's only one thing we're going to do right. And I think we'll do everything right. But there's only one thing to do right is going to be compliance. So
Amazing.
that's the key.
At the end of your tenure, what do you want to be known for as it relates to your legacy with United Prairie Bank?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would like to be known for a compassionate, caring leader that has sound vision, that's willing to listen to everybody around him,
Right.
and make good decisions.
Amazing.
And to keep this bank independent, which means we have to have quality earnings. We have to keep our shareholders happy. We have to keep all of our stakeholders happy, the regulators, our employees.
Right.
And, I hope that in the next 5 to 7 years, when I turn the reins over,
Yeah.
I'm really hopeful that that cannabis and whatever the next thing is,
Yeah.
that we're doing it, and that we're always thinking far enough ahead.
All right, everybody, that's our interview with Scott Miller, United Prairie Bank. If you're interested in a banking partner, reach out to United Prairie, visit them online, and let them know you found us on the Canna Connect Show.